Hey everyone, hope you have a lovely day. Now, there are a lot of videos on YouTube that teaches you racing technique, but not a lot that show you how to actually put it into practice. So with this video, I'm going to try to show you exactly that. If you're a beginner or intermediate driver, you will find a lot of value. And if you do, please hit the like and subscribe button at any point. Helps me know that you enjoy it and also helps the channel grow. So let's start. Alright, so these drills are related to the steering, but it will improve the other aspects of your driving as well, braking included. For the first one, we want to focus on minimum steering wheel angle. So what you're gonna do, you will try to barely turn in the corners. Like here, look at my steering. The problem is that beginners use the steering too much and they end up scrubbing too much speed. Let's look at the next corner as well. Look how much I'm using the steering in this corner. Barely using it. I'm using the pedals instead. I'm braking more, hold the brakes more, or dropping the throttle earlier. This will help you develop the habit of consciously finding minimum steering wheel angle while you're taking the corners. So the challenge for you, for 2-3 laps, try to do exactly what I did, using minimum steering wheel angle and rotate the car with your brake pedal and with your throttle input. The second one is what I call progressive steering drill, and you want to do your steering progressively. So for example, if I'm braking and turning at once, the car will just understeer. It won't be able to rotate because the front tires are sliding. Instead, you want to go as slowly, as progressive as possible, specifically when you're hitting the brakes hard. So here's how you apply it. You brake hard initially. This means you need to keep your steering 0 degrees right now. But as the speed decreases, you can steer more and more and more. The point at speed is very low and we can add a lot of steering wheel angle. The more the speed decreases, the more angle you will use in your steering. But initially, it's super important while you're braking hard, you need to keep the wheel as straight as you can. Sometimes it's going to be impossible to keep it 0 degrees, but your goal will be to minimize the steering that you're doing under initial braking when you're hitting peak pressure or threshold braking. Now, the next drill is what I call adding a kick or more steering at the apex. And this is how you're gonna do it. You're gonna brake, trail brake, and when you reach the apex, I want you to add more steering. Not that quickly because the car will understeer, but if we do it in slow-mo, so you're going into a corner, you're reaching the apex, you're steering more and more, and then you get at the apex, you add a little kick more. It feels like you're almost throwing the car in the corner. So it's very similar to what you do in karting. You steer, 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 get to the apex and give it that extra kick like this. So the movement is progressive, 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 a little fast and the kick, a little fast and the kick, a little fast and the kick. The challenge is to do this technique at the lowest speed in the corner because that's where you have more grip available. If you're gonna do the kick when the car has more speed, it will just understeer. So for example, in the next corner, I'm gonna just make a mistake with the timing. You see, and the car doesn't turn. Because I tried to do the kick, I tried to push the car in the corner to hustle it when it had too much speed. So you need to add that extra 5 degrees, 10 degrees of steering wheel angle at the minimum speed in the corner when you already slow the car down enough and when you're close to the apex. The reason why you're doing it is because you're fishing for grip. You're turning more and see if the car complies. Because for beginners and intermediates, and even some advanced drivers, they are driving under the limit of the front tires in the mid-corner phase. So what you want to do instead is to test if you can turn more. So for example, here I'm reaching the apex, I'm giving that kick. If the car doesn't turn, then it's fine. We know that we're at the limit, and next lap, we will just try to give a smaller kick to the point that we still find rotation, but we don't go over the limit of the front tires, and we don't slide the fronts. Next we have a weight transfer timing drill with the steering. So we want to feel the full weight shift onto the front tires. We're braking hard in a corner like this and syncing that full weight shift with our turn in. So turning too early or too late relative to load shift cause instability. In practice, in order to feel this, you really have to pay attention to the weight transfer and feel how the car dips down when you're holding the brakes. Like even braking in a straight line, the car pitches forward. You want to time your turn in when the car has already started to pitch long enough, because otherwise you're gonna get some horizontal weight transfer and some vertical weight transfer, and it's not gonna be ideal, especially at your initial turn in. So my advice for this, while you're practicing, just brake in a straight line and turn very, very late into the corners. For example, here, you'll try to do this. and then turn in. And notice that you have, first of all, slow the car down a lot more, but also the car is more responsive at turn in. It has more front end. And then you're gonna back out little by little and you will put your turn in a little bit earlier. Now this next one is super important, and you will see a lot of beginners and intermediate drivers doing this mistake on corner exit with the steering. So this will happen a lot of the times. I see it in coaching sessions. They're taking a corner, it's a good example of a corner, and then immediately they're bringing the car on the racing line instead of letting it roll a little bit more. Instead, you want to bring the car smoothly on your way out on the exit. So this is what I mean, and this is the drill for you. Notice that I'm not forcing the car on the left side. I naturally let it slide, and I do small corrections with the steering on my way out to avoid scrubbing speed. Because think about it, if I'm gonna do left, right, left, right, left, right, besides of losing control of the car, the tire is almost going sideways at a point. If you're forcing the car too much, the tire will slightly go sideways and you will lose speed. Instead, you want to let it roll. To put it into practice, pick a corner and try to let the car naturally slide towards the exit using all the space and without increasing the steering anymore. Just like this. Avoid overusing the steering wheel on your way out. Think about having the maximum steering wheel angle at the apex. Don't do this and now you're using the steering a lot. Of course, it's going to be a lot slower. And also, another important point, make sure you unwind the steering quickly in the mid part, so that you have here maximum amount of steering, but then you unwind. And unwind quickly, or a little bit faster than you normally do for this drill, so that you can smash the throttle aggressively. Because if you're going to take a lot of time with the steering wheel cranked up at the apex and after the apex, you'll have to wait with the steering and you will go later on the gas, because a lot of grip will go into steering and you can't use that grip for acceleration. So you want to be faster with your speed of turning after the apex. You want to quickly unwind the wheel but then relax it. Now this next drill is similar with our first, but different at the same time. So you will try to do what I call the steering freeze drill. In a corner, you will maintain the same amount of steering. You won't increase it at all. So it's not minimum steering. You won't increase it a lot, and just play with the pedal inputs, keeping the exact same steering wheel angle as you go into a corner. This will help you feel the balance of the car, but it's also gonna help you with understeer. So look, I'm not increasing the steering. I'm just using the pedals. Same for the next one. I'm pointing initially in the corner, not increasing the steering at all, just using the pedals. Now for the next drill, we will play with the car balance, we'll play with understeer. And this is going to be so important for you to get it right, to feel understeer and be able to induce understeer on purpose with your steering, that it will completely change the way that you perceive the lap and also the way that you drive. So what you're going to do in the beginning, you will induce a lot of understeer, and it's going to be very obvious. You will turn very quickly, very sharply, and the car just will slide the front immediately. Then you will brake a bit early, you will leave the throttle a bit earlier, you will slide very quickly, like this, and then release. Just to get understeer and then no understeer. Same here. Car is sliding, I'm using the brake and the pedal, I'm bringing it back. So the goal is to feel understeer, get back the grip, straighten up the tires, and then try to take the corner. In this way, you're exposing a lot yourself to the feeling of the tire sliding, but also with the feeling of regaining that grip back. As you do it more and more, you will notice that the speed of turning and the moment that you time your turning will matter a lot in avoiding the tire sliding, because the car will be the fastest without sliding at all. So this drill will make you more susceptible to feeling when the car is sliding, but also it will help you applying the first 5 drills that we already talked about, being more progressive with the steering, asking for more steering at the apex and not before the apex, and everything else we talked about. This is where you put basically everything together, and in the last part of this understeer drill, you will try to induce understeer, but to be very subtle. So for example, you go into this corner, you will still try to induce a little bit of understeer, but make it almost invisible to the naked eye, so that only you feel it You know it happens, you back off a little, you play with the steering to make sure you're regaining grip, and you're doing these small micro corrections to dance at the limit of understeer. Now the next drill is about oversteer, and for this one the brakes is a little bit more important, but still steering plays a crucial role, because in order to oversteer or to rotate more the car, you need the front tires alive. The car can't be oversteering if it understeers in the first place. So for that, what I'm gonna encourage you to do is to try to use less steering and more brakes. So for example, in the next corner, if I'm gonna try to make the car spin on purpose, I'm gonna barely steer while I'm holding the brakes, and you see the car started to lose traction. So you need a little bit less steering, but also more brakes in the low percentage, like holding the brakes. Each time you're holding the brakes, you're inducing oversteer. If you're also keeping sure that you're not sliding the front tires and you're using kind of a minimum steering wheel angle while you're still holding the brakes, the car will rotate a lot more. Now this car is a little bit harder to spin with the fixed setup, but I'm going to try to show it here. Not a complete spin, but an increase in rotation. So oversteer is not necessarily about spinning the car on purpose. Even losing a little bit the rear traction and having the car sliding a little bit more towards the rears, like right now, it's an instantaneous moment when that happens, it's still considered oversteer. So I want you to play with this. You should notice easily that the car starts to rotate a lot more at the moment, and for that you need low percent braking, trail braking, and you have to make sure that you don't get understeer first, because if the car will understeer first, it won't be able to oversteer or to rotate. Now for the next drill, in order to actually put into practice, you have to see telemetry, and this is a comparison between the red shape, which was a lot slower, and the blue one, which was a lot faster. Like the difference in lap times was 2 seconds or more, and the blue driver was faster. What you can notice here, if you're looking on these steering traces, is that the red driver is steering a lot more and a lot more sharper and with this jagged pattern. So if you want to be fast, you need to be smooth with your steering, and you also want to minimize the steering. If you look here on this graph, you can see in this spot around here, the red driver is steering more. Also here, these are all places where the red driver is understeering. Same thing here. So when I'm saying he understeers, I'm not referring to the fact he steers less, because he actually steers more, but his car is not responding to a steering input and the front tires are sliding. He's understeering in the corner. It's a confusion that it's best to avoid. So understeering doesn't mean that you steer less. It means that you actually steer more. But besides this adding of more steering, you can actually see that in corners like this one, I'm putting in with number 1, he's going up and down with the steering too much. It's too jagged, like this pattern. You don't want this. This is wrong. You want to be more smooth. It's impossible to be completely smooth, so it's going to be impossible to have this kind of steering trace. It's gonna be jagged, but you want to minimize it. Still want to fight the understeer, but you don't want to get into these extremes. For the last drill that I'm gonna show you today, we'll talk about force feedback. And it's important to have good amount of force feedback so you know what's the available grip. But in order to get more sensitive to the details in the force feedback, you actually have to lower it first. You have to train yourself to feel what the car is trying to tell you, even when the force feedback is lower. And if you train this, you're going to be able to feel a lot more details if you train yourself to drive with less sensory input. So what you're going to do, no matter the sim, you will just lower your force feedback. In iRacing, I have this black box here. If I'm increasing this value like this, the force feedback will actually go lower. So now the steering wheel is so light. Like I can drive with one single finger. Look, I can turn the car with just one finger and I can drive like this. And I want to drive a couple of laps with this lower force feedback so that I can become more sensitive whenever I'm going to go back to my normal force feedback. So for a corner like this, I'm going to miss a lot of details. Look, it's a lot harder to drive like this. But it will teach you, first of all, to learn to use the visuals and see when the car is understeering based on the horizon line, based on the graphics, based on the sounds, you will focus more on the other inputs or on the other senses, not just on the tactile senses. So with this in mind, you're going to become a much attentive driver to all the other aspects, but also you will be able to recognize the details in the force feedback a lot sooner whenever you get back to your original force feedback value. So I highly encourage you to test this drill. Do it for 2-3 laps each time you're going to be practicing. You will see that you will completely think differently about the force feedback and the way that you're perceiving it, and you will find more details in the force feedback. And for some bonus drills about trail braking, getting better at rotating the car with the brakes, getting more confident on the brakes, and really understand how trail braking works, I highly encourage you to check these 2 videos right here. Start with the only trail braking video you need in simracing. That's probably the most complete braking video on the YouTube at the moment. You'll see those videos popping up on the left side of the screen. And thanks for watching this one. Hope it was valuable. Give it a like, a subscribe if you like it. And I'm going to see you in the next one. Bye bye.